G'day everyone, welcome to our lesson today where we're going to be concentrating on drawing props, or another way of looking at it is, these inanimate objects, sometimes things that sort of flutter by or something like that. Sometimes there's a little bit of life like fruit or something like that, and sometimes they're just lifeless things that we need to draw when we're drawing our main characters. So let me show you a few examples. Okay, the first thing I wanted to do was show you some of my work, and I'm sorry about the reflection. This is a laminated sheet. I'll see if I can improve that. Yep, there we go. Now we're in focus. So I want to show you something that worked and something that didn't. Okay, so this is a copy of some work I did for a competition earlier this year, and I was basing it on a trip to the Northern Territory. So I've got Curtin Springs there, and I've got a few inanimate objects here. I've got some ants, I've drawn a few rocks, a few bushes. I've got Mount Connor in the background for anyone who knows that, and in the meantime this koala is cooking up a storm for his friends here. And so here we have, there's a pot, bit of steam there, there's some food in there, I've got a dragonfly floating down, and as you go through the comic you get to see, okay, he's cooked up some eggs, he's cooked up a few things in the big camp oven, he's got his great big baked bean bonanza breakfast here of baked beans, a bit of bacon, some steak and an egg there. I don't know if I quite got the pancake just right, but with all of this I had to have a look at the objects first. How does a pot look? How does a table look? Looking at it side on, looking at a fire, and I had to redo this one. I asked a friend to have a look at this, and my friend felt, well, you actually need to have some more logs in there, so had to go back and have a look at that again. Over here I've got some baked beans with tomatoes steaming in a pot there, so it's got that kind of nice style about it, but I had to make sure I got all my proportions right. So that was pretty good. Now, to show you something which didn't work. This is something else I drew for a competition late last year, actually. And I was basing it on Cobram and Barooga and looking at a koala map of the area. There was a few things I was happy about that did work. Like I wanted to show where is Cobram in comparison to the rest of Australia. So I've got to put a little cross there, and I've got a few recognisable things or icons or animals that you'll find around Australia. So, got some humpback whales here and bananas and turtle. Wasn't very happy about my cockatoo though, because I actually didn't look at what a cockatoo looks like. And the comb I've got on his head doesn't look good, and his beak's the wrong colour. So that's a lesson to me to make sure I look at what I'm drawing first. I did the Murray cod really well. Made sure to get his fins just right there. The wallaby though, I'm not very happy about the wallaby. I wonder if you can see why. To me, he looks like he's hunchbacked. I have not actually drawn him properly, and I just drew it without even looking at what the subject looked like. And I did the same, actually no, something similar. I had actually the same issue up here with the kangaroo, but I actually did a lot better with that kangaroo because I had a look at how does a kangaroo look when he jumps, and I made sure to get that body shape in there. So anyway, so that's something that works and something that didn't work, and the aim is to make sure you look at things properly. And that's what drawing does. It teaches you to observe. So I'm going to show you a few examples of some of the masters, I call it. Bill Watterson is one of the masters. He came up with this series called Calvin and Hobbes during the 80s and early 90s. And he, to my mind, is one of the masters because he didn't just draw his characters really well, doing different things, but it was also his objects. How would he draw a glass? How would he draw a plate of yucky food? Or a chair that one of his main characters is looking at? How does he draw how does he draw the mum? And how, put the expressions on the face, but also the objects that are here. It's obvious Calvin has smashed a lamp. He's blaming it on his imaginary friend, and poor mum's here sweeping it all up, not happy, but that's a brush, that's a dustpan, that's a broken lamp, and this is all the glass and stuff that's left around. So definitely one of the masters, Bill Watterson. Another one to have a look at is Hergé's work. So I'm going to go to one of my favourite cartoons of his, the flight of 714 to Sydney. Hergé, another master, Belgian, did most of his drawing during the 50s and 60s and early 70s. And he would make sure all of his objects, the hats, the clothing, the stalactites, whatever it was, the sunglasses on all of his characters, they would look exactly how it should. You know, the idol statues that they would come across in caves. How does a hat look when someone flicks it off your head? How do glasses look on a person's head? So all of these objects, inanimate objects that he would have, bicycles, steps, all of these things he would have, even fire. How do flames look? How does lava look when it's coming down the side of a mountain? He's got a volcano that's in this one as well. How does that all look? So Hergé, definitely the master of drawing inanimate objects, drawing his props to help tell the story. And that is why you draw props, because everything, it's one of those rules of fiction, everything has to help tell the story. Now, something a little different. This is some work by a Chinese fellow called William Tsai. Now, this is some of his work there where he's actually painting different stylized. Two people climbing up a mountain, going to a temple-like structure at the top of a mountain. Very simplistic in how he does it. So this is a completely different style. How he does his mountains and things, all very simple, done with brushstroke, but it still gets the message across. One of my favourite ones he does is, excuse me about bumping the stand here. Simple brushstrokes to show an orchid flower, to show where the leaves are, but still keeping to that style. And in all of these things, even though it's simplified, he nails the shape really well. He gets the shape of that, which is that traditional Chinese style. Although we know leaves don't really look exactly like that, there's a fair bit more complication in there, but he gets the shape. He gets the shape of all of these things. It's a really good one later on where he's got two birds on a branch. He's got the shape of the birds just right. He's got that branch just right. You can tell it's done simply with brushstrokes, but it is beautiful just on how he does this. And the key thing, shape. Now, a couple more. There are Oliver, an Australian author, Best Beacon, Boonaroo Bay. Okay, this is an old children's book. It's fantastic. It's one of my favourites because she's done, sorry, that's my bookmark page. What she's done here is she's got the crab. Down here there's a jellyfish that she's done too. And she gets the shapes. She gets the proportions. So when you see things in the water, when you see the crab on the side of the banks with the mangroves there, you know what they are. Simple, yes. Stylised, yes. And done with woodblock style where you actually, or lino print, where you're cutting into stencil and you're actually printing that on. And it looks great. Looks great how it's done. Okay. See if I've got any more. Another one of the masters, Sergio Aragonés. This is some of his work here, and I've mentioned this in previous lessons where it's all freehand. He's just got the picture in his head and he draws. But wow, look what he can do. Octopus, watermelon, carrots, all in people's heads. The dog, Rafferdo, barking to get this person to jump up so that he can get a meal. And the sausages and the meat jumps out of the basket. There he is with his friends eating all the food. And in the background, a fence. Simply done, and a hut. Simply done, but told to tell the story of what's going on here. Okay, now let's get on to a task. Okay, everyone, your task today is to draw objects around your house. Now, I've got a few things to show you. So, I don't know if you can quite see the white on the white page. This is a mug. Oh, it looks like that from the top. Okay, so I've got a mug. I've found a few other things. I've got an old school bell. This bell, this is special. This is given to me by an old teacher just as she retired, and she wanted to give it to me for me to use during my teaching career. So I've had this for about 24 years now. It's pretty special. I've got a fork, a spoon, maybe a phone. So I want you to go around the house, find a few objects that you might like to draw. Maybe a book. Hang on, just put that down there. Oh, that could work. Okay, so find a few things that you would like to draw. I'm going to start with this mug. I'm just going to have to put it on the side here and get the bell out of the way. And for this, I hope you can see it, I'm going to have to find a pencil. That could do. I think I had a better one. Just a second. Okay, I've got a proper pencil now. So as always, need a pencil. You might need a sharpener. Might need a rubber. Who knows? You might need a pen. Actually, you probably will need a fine line pen. That will help you as well. If you have a thick pen, that's always good. A thick felt tip as well, that would work as well. Okay, so I'm going to start with this mug. Let's put this rubber out of the way. Now I'm going to try and show you how I want it to be drawn. Now it's a bit big for the space we have here, but I want this mug to be sort of on its side. I want you to be able to see the top and the bottom. And so for all of this, you need to be aware of shape. So give you an idea, I'm going to start off with the top of the mug. Give it that ovally kind of shape. And then he's going to have the side there. The trick when you're doing a mug like this, yeah, it's a cylinder, of course. So, but the trick is to make sure that that curve, and that curve all match. Something like that. Okay, now to have a look at how the handle looks. Okay, I want it to be open like that so you can see the top, so you can see if there's something in there or not. And I'm going to draw the handle now. Make sure that when you're drawing, you take a look at the object, try and get the shape of it. So this handle has sort of a ear kind of shape. Okay, now that I've got that, I'm going to go around this mug just lightly with my pen. Now, you decide yourselves what kind of style are you going to do. Are you going to try and make it look as realistic as possible? Are you going to go a little bit more simplistic? I'm going to try and do a more of a simplistic kind of view. But I do want to have it look like it's reasonable is what I'll say, because I want it to be believable. So if I drew a character next to this holding this mug, I want you as the viewer to be able to look at the mug and look at what it's doing. Drawing props should be like drawing the ear on a face. Now, I said this last week, that an ear is not really there to be noticed, but you do notice, you sure as eggs notice it when something is wrong or it's not there. Okay, so I'm just going to draw the top. Now this is where it's really tricky, just trying to get that line there for how that should look. So I'm just going to draw a bit of a line there for starters, just to show the opening there. Okay, too many lines there. I'm going to start rubbing out all my pencil lines. Just a minute. There you go, that's looking really good. I'll just move this a little bit more to the center so you can see it. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Now, I would actually add some different colors to this later on, so I'd probably add something a little bit darker, maybe a darker brown to indicate coffee, maybe a light grey, or perhaps a little bit of shading of grey here and there to indicate that, you know, there's a bit of shading and depth on this cup. But I've also added one of those thick lines around the edge there, you'll notice, and just a few extra lines here and there to indicate a bit of shading, and that also indicates a bit of shape as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to give you guys your task now. It's time for you to go around, find a few things around the house that you can draw. While you're doing that, I'm going to draw a few things here just on speed motion so that you can see how I do things as well. Okay, let's get started. Okay, everybody, that is all from me. Have a great week this week. Have a go at drawing some things around the house as well. And what I'd like you to do too, if you can, Year 8s, I'd especially like you to take photos of what you've done, send it to me on Classroom, and that way I can see how you're going. That'll be terrific. Okay, have a great week. See you next time.